Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to join us on what we think will be a really interesting and informative session for you. Know that there's lots of opportunities for you to choose different ways to spend your time, day job, and other content out there in the market. So really do appreciate you with your interest and your attention to the content that we've got scheduled for you today. My name is Gary Durheim. I'm lead marketing and managed services efforts for PTP. I'm just going to kick things off, and then I'm going to hand it over to the team, Crystal and Chris, that are going to take you through today's content. So wanted to just let you know a couple things. So, many of you may have seen this either through some social postings or email blasts that PTP has done. PTP.cloud and our events page is a great place to stay on top of what we're doing at PTP and other events that we have going on. If any of you have interest, on Thursday morning this week, we're doing a similar event around the same platform and the same service offering, but instead of being more of a high-level event going through the platform and the market and the positioning, this one's going to be a hands-on demo lab event. So for any of you that want to get some education and a little bit more hands-on on what it actually looks like to configure, deploy, and use the technology that we're talking about today, ptp.cloud/events, and you can see the event on Thursday the 8th. We'll be starting in the morning, a few-hour event, allow you to log on and do some lab work. So it should be really interesting. So, and then also wanted to let you know that the Cisco Secure team that's helping us lead this event today and the platform technology that this is all about has graciously offered hoodie sweatshirts for those of you in attendance that stay with us through the event. So what I'll be doing is at the end of the event, we'll look at just the attendance, and then I'll be reaching out to you individually to get sizing, and then we'll get those hoodie sweatshirts sent out to you. So cool, really cool hoodies. Hopefully some of you are in some areas where you still have cool evenings and stuff that you'll get a chance to use that before it gets too hot here in the summer. I'm actually in Dallas, Texas, and things are getting pretty warm pretty quick over here, so not too many hoodie days left for us. But without further ado, I will hand it over to Crystal to take you through the rest of the content. Crystal?
Yeah, thanks, Gary. And while it's getting a little warm for hoodies here in Atlanta as well, I can confirm that they're very nice quality, very cozy. So I've rocked mine all winter. So you guys can look forward to getting yours as well.
Cool.
So thank you guys all for joining. As Gary mentioned, we're going to walk through Secure Cloud Analytics, formerly known as Stealthwatch Cloud, and kind of give you the overview of the things we're trying to solve for our customers and the things we're helping customers accomplish with our platform, and of course, with our partnership with PTP and with AWS. So quick agenda, we'll give an overview. We'll talk about the hybrid environment that many of you probably are operating in these days. We'll talk about threat analytics, Stealthwatch Cloud, or Secure Cloud Analytics, now known as, does a lot around modeling and trying to detect threats that are happening across our customers' environment. And then we'll talk a little bit about the managed services that PTP offers to help you consume this even more easily. I want to keep this very light and interactive, make sure that it's conversational and that you guys all get a good feel for what it is that we're trying to do here. So, my other panelists at any time, feel free to jump in. Chris, if you want to say hi, I think I went past the introduction slide there. So let me give Chris a chance to say hi, and then we'll get right into it.
Sure. That's Chris Dusio. I'm the VP of Engineering at PTP, and sitting here to help give a little bit of information along this product suite that Crystal's going to do a very wonderful job presenting on. I've been using this product for a while, although there's been some advancements, obviously not just in name branding, but with some of the capabilities within the product suite itself. So I look forward to being here and helping out if I can.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
No problem.
All right. So what are the problems that we're trying to help our customers solve when it comes to Secure Cloud Analytics? Well, we know that our customers are dealing with a world of complexity. You've got assets on-prem, you've got resources in public cloud, and as these resources proliferate and really start to grow, so does your attack surface. So how do we help our customers get end-to-end visibility of everything that's happening across their hybrid environment? So one of the things Stealthwatch Cloud is really great at is threat detection, right? At our core, we are a threat detection tool, and with Cisco Secure, we are threat detection and response using orchestration workflows that are available as part of the Secure Cloud Analytics product. So the first thing Secure Cloud Analytics does is starts to ingest telemetry. So we're going to take data off your on-premise network or off your cloud networks. Maybe you're using Kubernetes in the cloud or on-prem or in a private cloud. It doesn't really matter to the product where the data is coming from. We look at everything as an entity. And so the first thing we do when we start consuming the telemetry, and we'll get into details around what exactly it is we're consuming, but the first thing we do is we're able to identify every entity operating in an environment, whether that's a VM or a server or a workstation or an iOS device, lots of different things that we're going to automatically classify across your network based on their behavior. And so that's one of the really important or powerful parts of Secure Cloud Analytics is what we'll talk about in a little while around dynamic entity modeling and being able to identify all of those entities and the roles they serve on your modern network. The next thing we're going to do is look at every conversation that's occurring between entities. So anytime there's a network transaction where one entity reaches out to another, again, whether that's a user endpoint or cloud workloads, we're going to understand which entities typically interact with other entities and what that behavior looks like. So it allows us to create this baseline of normal behavior of what's happening across your modern network. We then have more than 100 different detections that work out of the box based on our behavioral modeling and machine learning that allow you to be alerted to change. And I know behavior modeling and machine learning, those are, everybody's got it, right? You got to have some, but we take a really unique approach to this, and we'll get into that in some detail later on in the presentation as well. And then at the end of the day, what are we trying to help our customers accomplish? It's really about being able to respond to threats really quickly. How do you know if you've been compromised? How do you have that kind of general ledger that gives you the details of everything that's occurred across your modern network so that you can facilitate incident response, so that you can perform threat hunting, so that you can know when something malicious is actually in your network and has gotten past some of your other defenses. So, again, in a nutshell, we are a threat detection and response platform that consumes telemetry from your modern network to help you quickly identify, investigate, and remediate threats that may have gotten past other defenses. So kind of building on that, we'll go into 3 different sections here. So what do we mean by contextual network-wide visibility? What do we mean by predictive threat analytics and the detections that we're delivering? And then how do we help you with automation around detection, investigation, and response? So why do our customers use Secure Cloud Analytics? Well, you need visibility across your modern network, whether that's public cloud or on-prem. You need that inventory of assets. You need to know what all these different entities are and being able to have kind of this comprehensive view of everything that's leveraging your network for communications. We're also doing the automatic classifications so that the roles and the types of devices that are operating on your network are very transparent to you without you having to go and inventory everything and doing all your own classification yourself. Behavioral threat detection, of course, leveraging lots of different mechanisms to understand when there's something in your environment that's acting abnormally and likely maliciously. How do we help customers, especially in the world of public cloud, expose configuration risks, right? The faster you can close a configuration risk or a vulnerability, the fewer threats you're actually going to have to respond to. So we're also monitoring for changes to resource configuration and their compliance with best practices. We're also looking for events Some other vendors will talk about this as like configuration drift, but has something changed? You had a secure configuration, everything was fine, but then somebody made a change that could introduce new risk to the environment. So that ongoing monitoring of everything is really important because things change really rapidly in the modern network these days. And then, of course, kind of the network segmentation use case. So we know which resources should communicate with other resources. We know there are certain assets in our environment that should never connect directly to the internet or should be in some sort of sequestered place. Maybe it's your PCI environment. And so making sure that we're monitoring based on our user-defined watch lists to ensure that your segmentation policy is being enforced. And then, of course, how do you rapidly respond and remediate when a threat is detected? So we've got a number of different ways that we can automate remediation and automate the investigation. And so we'll go into that a little bit more as well. But I thought it would be worth starting with a customer story because, you know, real life examples are often helpful. So I know there's a lot of content on this slide, but this is a story of how we acquired a current customer. So we have a managed service provider that offers managed detection and response services. And they had a customer in the manufacturing industry where they had Cisco AMP deployed across the environment wherever it made sense. And basically, AMP started detecting some malicious activity on these hosts. And so as the attack started to unfold, essentially the MSP told the customer that we needed to call in incident response. So the customer called in an incident response team leveraging their cyber insurance, and the incident response team installed another endpoint agent trying to detect this activity. But essentially, they were just playing whack-a-mole. You know, endpoint after endpoint was being compromised, but they couldn't find the root cause of the situation. So they're just responding to different endpoints being compromised. The company, the MSSP that we were partnered with, recommended Secure Cloud Analytics to this customer so that they could gain the network visibility into what was happening across the network. So as a SaaS delivered solution with a 60-day free trial, our partner was able to just quickly ask for a portal to be provisioned, and within a couple of hours, Stealthwatch Cloud was up and running and collecting all of the network telemetry. So by the next morning, the MSP had complete visibility into what was occurring across the network. They could look at those endpoints that were being compromised and who they were talking to, and very quickly zero in on a NAS appliance that was being used as the attacker foothold to navigate throughout the customer's network and infect these endpoints. So as soon as they identified the foothold, they were able to create a quick firewall rule to block that NAS appliance from the internet, and all of the activity subsided. And then the particular NAS vendor ended up issuing a notice a few weeks later of several zero-day vulnerabilities that were being exploited by ransomware as part of this finding. So definitely a tough situation to find yourself in. We know that ransomware is prevalent. And if this customer had Secure Cloud Analytics in place before the attack, it's quite possible we would have noticed the unusual access, lateral movement, attack propagation, things like that throughout the attack. But what I can say with certainty we absolutely would have done is that the security teams could have quickly identified the foothold of the attacker instead of going on for weeks trying to play whack-a-mole with ransomware and, you know, having compromised systems. So it's really important that you have multiple vantage points. There's tons of security tools out there, but there's certain use cases that are really important for threat detection and response. And one of them is that outside-in view of the network and the ability to have network telemetry at your fingertips so that you can, you know, understand what's happening and respond to threats more effectively. So just a little bit around the telemetry that we're collecting. So from public cloud infrastructure, we're completely agentless. So just leveraging all of the APIs that are provided by our cloud partners like AWS. So things like CloudTrail, IAM, GuardDuty, and then the core of our engine is really built around VPC flow logs. So we've talked a lot about using the network as a sensor. And so a lot of our modeling really at its core leverages those VPC flow logs for our more advanced threat detection use cases. And of course, from an on-premises network, you've also got flow. So whether it's NetFlow, IPFix, coming from Meraki, or tapping into a mirror span, lots of different ways we can collect flow data. Even firewall logs actually power our analytics engine. So bringing that all into one place as a single dashboard for our customers to understand what's happening across their network from a threat perspective.
And I think just to add to that, I think that's an important element for folks on the call to realize how much of an advantage that is, since previously a lot of companies were treating public cloud access, or hyperscaler access, if you will, as a separate entity to on-premise. And obviously I don't know about everybody, but we've personally experienced at PTP many customers that have had attacks happening in their hyperscaler environments that then get propagated down towards their on-prem. So having something that can look at both on-prem and in the cloud is extremely helpful. So.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And so kind of going a bit deeper than what we covered on the first slide is kind of this concept of an entity. So Stealthwatch Cloud, or Secure Cloud Analytics, doesn't really care where the entity resides, but an entity is any unit that is really talking on the network and leveraging the network for communications, whether that's in the cloud or on-prem. So we are able to identify every device by that flow data. So we're going to start collecting telemetry and say, okay, these are all the different devices that I have, collecting device name, the connections that they're making, and then starting to record all of the conversations that they're having. One of the other points that I'll make on this slide is that Stealthwatch Cloud works with encrypted traffic as well, right? Because we're only looking at that flow and kind of the behavior of entities across the network. We don't need to get into the deep packet to create our models and to understand what devices are and how they're operating and how they're leveraging the network and how they're operating with other resources that are on the network. So as more and more of the network goes dark and is encrypted, you need solutions that don't have to decrypt every single thing that's occurring. That can get quite cumbersome. So Secure Cloud Analytics does also work really well in encrypted environments without needing any sort of decryption. So once we identify these entities, you can drill into them, learn a lot more about them, what we've seen, their history, their behavior. But the next thing we do is we leverage what I mentioned before, which is dynamic entity modeling. So based on the behavior of the device on the network, how it's communicating with other entities, there's a variety of different techniques and tactics that we take to automatically identify what type of entity it is. So whether it's a security camera or an AWS Lambda function or a container, lots of different roles that we're automatically going to classify these entities into. So again, really good visibility. Come in here and check, what on my network is operating as a DNS server, and is that what I expect, right? So giving you some good hygiene capabilities, really being able to see what's out there and understanding how they're operating and leveraging your network is really important as part of that visibility story. And once we have a role classified for the different entities, it's pretty easy to write some simple rules out of the box, such as this network printer should never be doing X, Y, Z, right? And so we have a lot of out-of-the-box rules that are just really about the role of the device and how that role might change over time. And if that role is changing, it might be something you want to look into, and how it's behaving compared to how it's expected to behave given the role that it's been assigned. So here's an example of how we detect abnormal activity using this entity modeling. So we detect there's an IP address and it's communicating with other IPs. So we're going to dynamically assign a role to these entities. And let's say we say, okay, this is a database server. So data is staying within the environment. We run a 36-day rolling baseline for the behavior of the network and all the entities that are operating on it. So after that 36-day baseline, we notice that things are going around as normal. Data is accessed from a regular location, normal IPs that it normally talks to. But now we see a new external connection. And so we make an observation around that. We say, that's interesting. This database server is never connected to this external device before. So let's make note of that. And then we also make note that there's a new high throughput connection with that same entity. And so that's also an interesting observation. And when those observations are put together, that's when Stealthwatch Cloud is going to say, okay, it's probably something that our customers need to look at and investigate, because this may be database exfiltration, right? So lots of different types of detections. We've also got our detections mapped to the MITRE framework and the ability to configure which ones are important to you. This screenshot's actually a little bit dated. We've got more than 100 detections that are provided to our customers out of the box. The other thing that's really important to us that I'll harp on here is that it's really easy to use. So Secure Cloud Analytics is designed to deliver high fidelity threat detections in a way that doesn't require you to create your own correlation rules and build out all of this detection, right? We deliver detection and response as a service. And then we allow you to tune and tweak as it makes sense for your network. So, whitelist your scanners. Maybe there's certain priority events that you care about more than others. And we've got all of this mapped to the MITRE attack framework. And then the other thing that you'll see is we're also mapped to CIS benchmarks for the cloud providers like AWS. So again, MITRE is a really great framework that allows you to understand where your coverage is and where you've got detection capabilities. So definitely powerful to see how we map to MITRE and what type of coverage we're giving you from a detection and response capability. The other piece that's super important to the Secure Cloud Analytics business, or Stealthwatch Cloud, is the fidelity of our alerts. All of our customers are busy. All of our customers have lots of different technologies that are firing alerts, asking for attention, look at this, look at that. And it's really hard for our customers sometimes to prioritize what's real versus what's noise. And so one thing that we do in our product itself is collect feedback on the helpfulness of our alerts. And so all of those alerts that I showed you on the previous slide, or if you wanted to dig in using our free trial and see all the things that are available out of the box, every time one of those detections fires, when our customers go to close the alert, we ask them, was this helpful? Not was it a false positive or a true positive, but was this piece of information presented to you helpful? And more than 95% of the alerts that are closed by our customers are marked as helpful. In fact, we ran the query the other day because we keep a very close eye on this, and we're at 97% helpful. But this is one piece of feedback into our research and correlation teams so that they can make sure that our detections really are serving the needs of our customers and giving them useful, valuable information and insight into threats that may be occurring across their network or other network issues. So it's really important that we're able to dig in and say, even by different alert type, by different customer types, are we being as helpful as we can and being a good steward of our customers' time and directing them to the threats that matter and that need response within their environment?
Crystal, I see a question that just came up and just wanted to share it with you and Chris. And so, I think it's talking about the flow data. And so, question is really around if there's any issue with HIPAA or healthcare companies that don't allow span or taps in their environment, and how that affects the views into that traffic, whether it's cloud or hybrid.
So I haven't run into any issues around HIPAA for sure. In fact, we're, definitely supporting many healthcare companies. We've seen tremendous growth in healthcare, I guess not surprisingly, over the past year as they've deployed this solution across their networks, both on-prem as well as in public cloud. So great growth there. again, we're not doing any sort of deep packet inspection. We are really just collecting the flow and then some of the other logs from public cloud providers in order to do this modeling. So I'd be happy to take the question offline if anybody wants to get in touch with me or learn more, but definitely great growth in healthcare, especially because of the fidelity and simplicity of Stealthwatch Cloud. Really, really powerful, works, out of the box in a very short amount of time. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay, super. Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
make sure to make that connection. Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, spanning or tapping is more of a local thing, right, that we're talking about here. So anything that would be being sent from on-prem to Stealthwatch Cloud is encrypted anyways. So, in transit. So, I mean, I don't imagine that would be a concern if it was something like, in particular, like IPFix or NetFlow data. So I'm not familiar with the span or tap requirement, but that would definitely be something that would be more of an on-prem native thing that would then typically be being interpreted by something on premise, which would then either have to be sent up to this analytics tool or something along those lines. But we can definitely get to the bottom of that question.
Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now, Chris or Gary, maybe I'll defer to you guys to talk a little bit more about the services that you offer around Stealthwatch Cloud.
Yeah, I'll be happy to. So yeah, we're just excited to be part of this program, and so on the AWS Marketplace, PTP has an offer for managed secure cloud analytics, and the concept is really, a lot of the organizations that we're working with are growing, developing organizations that usually have limited number of staff, and the ability to bring on new tools just means more management overhead and theoretically, new incidents to review and just some work on that behalf. And so what's been effective is taking those technologies and wrapping service to where, we're involved in the tuning process, and then also can be involved in the alert handling process. So reviewing when those decisions are being made around behavioral analytics, that the PTP team can jump in and do that first level of diagnosis. And then that way, our end customers that are leveraging the technology are only getting escalated when things are validated. And so clearly there's the opportunity with this platform to be able to buy and own yourself and run it as a platform. I think that's the standard model and what's in play for a lot of larger organizations. Where we see a lot of adoption is organizations that have grown in their needs for complexity. They're no longer a basic shop that just has endpoint security and a firewall and some email filtering, but the needs to analyze, the need to not only protect yourself from threats but detect indicators of compromise is increasing, or the sensitivity of the data is increasing, but lack the resources to be able to apply. And so that's where PTP plays. We have a suite of managed services that do some traditional monitor maintenance, some management around on-prem network infrastructure and virtualized data center infrastructure, et cetera. Your traditional nuts and bolts. We have a suite of services we call Control that's really focused on AWS enablement, providing engineering resources, providing governance and oversight, and providing security services for cloud. And then a suite of services that we call Secure, that is a combination of device management, vulnerability management, managed security infrastructure, and then powered by tools like we're talking about today, which is the Secure Cloud Analytics managed by PTP, and that's the offer that's available on the marketplace. So just know, as you're thinking through technologies like these, and you're kind of thinking through the paradigm of security in terms of, hey, I've invested this effort in policy building, I've invested this amount in these protection technologies, but I need to improve my detection. Just know that there's some answers there, and PTP would love to be part of that process with you, and certainly has some resources to be able to dive in and help you make the right decisions for your organization. So just wanted to be able to share that because obviously the acquisition of technology is one thing, and it's the ongoing efforts and the optimization of it that's another, and that's really where PTP fits in.
Yeah, so just to kind of add to that, Gary, basically not only is it pertinent for organizations that might be very large to have their own security groups, but sometimes what we see nowadays is that even enterprises that have resources for, what we consider a normal size resource group for, whatever that might be, networking or security or telephony or whatever, some of our customers we find are now tending to want to outsource the responsibility of some of those services to companies like ourselves that specialize in areas where we can be keeping a close eye on areas of governance and compliance and security and things of that nature. Not that they don't have maybe an team that might be available within the organization, but they might not have either the level of expertise to handle all of these different areas or the time to manage it. And I think that's one of the good complementary services that we offer to folks.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris and Gary. Yeah. And as much as I say Stealthwatch Cloud is super easy to use, it is, but, we all know that there's a shortage in, skilled security staff that can actually handle this, the investigation, the response capabilities. And so I know having partners like you has really helped a number of our customers be more successful in how they're both deploying as well as consuming Secure Cloud Analytics. So thank you guys. And so again, Secure Cloud Analytics and with PTP, we really help empower your teams to make more informed security decisions. At the end of the day, we're helping you to enhance the productivity of your existing workforce. We know that security resources are hard to come by. We know that securing a mid-sized business to a large enterprise to a small business, it's always a challenge, right? We have to, be on our game all the time. The internet's constantly under attack and showing us new ways that attackers are operating. And so, that's one thing that we're committed to as a business is really understanding what the threat landscape is like out there and how to do everything we can to protect our customers. And one of the important things there is ensuring that you have reliable, actionable detections and that they're things that you can actually act upon. And we didn't get too much into the compliance or configuration side of things, but definitely also a core capability of Secure Cloud Analytics. So allowing you guys to understand how we map, how your public cloud environment is aligned with AWS foundational best practices, the CIS benchmarks for AWS, and other kind of best practices that we've created in-house. The organized record keeping, again, being able to look back and understand what happened on the network. Maybe you've got a threat that you're responding to that was detected by another technology, but Secure Cloud Analytics really provides you with that network DVR. You can go and replay what's happened as you facilitate your investigation and response, really understand the scope of anything that you might be dealing with, isolate the threat, and you really can't do that if you don't have great visibility into the network and good record keeping as far as what's been occurring. Of course, the insight with entity modeling, understanding all of the entities, all of the roles, all of the hosts that are operating on your network, what they are, what they're doing, and then, again, that asset inventory, knowing what it is that exists on your network, and then leveraging that knowledge to provide insight into how that thing should be behaving, and when it's misbehaving, giving you a meaningful detection so that you can identify anything that could be potentially malicious. And with that, I think I talked pretty fast, you guys. So it takes me to the final slide, which is we do offer a 60-day free trial. We're listed with PTP in the AWS Marketplace. So we encourage you guys to reach out, give it a try, attend the lab on Thursday if you want to get hands-on with the solution. And we really appreciate your attendance and open to any questions or comments you guys might have.
Super. Thanks, Crystal. And thanks for everybody for your attention this afternoon. I will be reaching out. You'll see an email from PTP events. We'll be reaching out for sizing for those cool Cisco Stealthwatch Cloud, Secure Cloud Analytics hoodies. And then feel free if there's any questions or you want to get a trial spun up we'll certainly love to engage with you and show you a little bit more about that technology and actually give you, real live view into your own organization's, security data through the lens of secure cloud analytics at no charge. So great opportunity to really kind of see what's under the hood there. So again, appreciate the Cisco Secure team for collaborating with us on this event. Appreciate everybody's attendance. Give you 20 more minutes back in your day because I'm sure you got plenty going on. And look forward to hearing from us in a little bit with the hoodie sweatshirts. Thanks everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much, team. Bye-bye.
Thanks everybody.